and pay less than 71 pesos per month. Visit tmt.ph/premium to get your free 30 days of the Manila Times Premium.
Our journey with the Filipino moves us to do more, giving hope to those in need. Rebuilding lives, inspiring sports heroes, and empowering a nation. PAGCOR, creating opportunities beyond gaming.
Pwelas ang silanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa mandulupi, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong tuhaw, may dalagang tula at awit sa paglayang pinamahal. Ang islap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magniningning. Iba ng araw na luwalhati ng punta, walang isang piling ko. Aming ligaya na pag may mga atin na namatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good day. Thank you for joining us on the Manila Times Online Business Forum, where we splice the micro differences and piece together the massive similarities between the esports and online gaming industries. My name is Defort Villasera, the Manila Times or TMT editor, and your co-moderator for today. Co-moderating with me is Jing Garcia, the Manila Times or TMT Sunday Business Information Technology editor. It's good to see you powered up and boosted, Jing. Game ka na ba after your bout with being bedridden?
Good to see you, the fourth, and thank you. And as you said, no, powered up and boosted tayo ngayon. And of course, speaking of bedridden, technology today has given chance for people who can't be physically there to play these games. And
Yes.
that's really good news.
It's very inclusive. That's good to know, Jing, and great news. Well, speaking of news, it's good, great, or otherwise, no? What's the word on the street about esports or online gaming communities?
Nako, it's incredible. The numbers, they're very incredible. Did you know that there's over 43 million active gamers now in the Philippines? Grabe, no? And of course, esports should not be confused with online gaming under PAGCOR, which includes virtual poker, casino, sports, betting, and e-bingo. Magkaiba ito, pero yes, maraming gumagamit ito.
Oh, very distinct. Yeah, I know that these various or these separate sectors are actually sometimes people have a misconception, but at the same time, even though they're very distinct from one another, they do have these huge similarities also in terms of having had a huge boost of eyeballs kumbaga, during the pandemic. And then you even have what you can call mga high ballpark figures involved, no? Following yung series of lockdowns that we've had and yung mga mobility restrictions. So yung resort ng mga tao, since they're online anyway, it naturally turned toward virtual sports and virtual entertainment, and as well, we have the online gaming. Pero mukhang malaking pera talaga daw dito.
Totoo, the money is big, and of course, this should also be regulated, no? And we'll be talking about that today. Pero yeah, pagdating sa pera, this is big. It's a boon for the digital economy of the country.
Yes, very good for everyone involved, no? Kasi while you have the global economy and nagko-collapse yan, you have the reduction in consumer and public spending. So what happens now, yung metasphere na tinatawag, di ba? It blew up and you have all this digital cash and even cryptocurrencies floating around in the internet. No? So it all sounds like one of those cryptic voice-over scenarios sa mga apocalyptic movies or yung mga, di ba yung mga video games na nilalaro?
Yes.
And, what's this? The artificial intelligence turned against humanity. Tapos yung mga, ito yung mga, I think we shifted all from into a virtual existence kumbaga. Pero yung what we do have is yung a kind of now a life imitating art or science fiction. What do you have to any more observations mo about this in terms of not just the bad but even the good?
Yeah, you can call it dystopian or even utopian for many kasi kakakita nga ito ng marami, no? Pero one thing is sure, the digital economy is booming, and because of the fast tracking of digitalization in the country, this is a great help talaga sa atin.
The thing is, with all the rumors flying on the street, no, you have even fake news rampant on the internet. It's time to separate fact from fiction. So when it comes to both esports and online gaming, especially with how these two have exponentially grown industries, talagang malaking contribution nila, no, sa e-commerce and the economy in general. So talagang ang laking tulong.
Oh, that's a fact, the fourth, and that's why we have us with us today, key players in these respective sectors. Representing the Philippines Esports Organization, or PESO, is Marlon Marcelo, the PESO Interim Executive Director. Hello, Mr. Marcelo.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, may I call you Marlon?
Sure, why not?
Thanks, Marlon, for taking time out to give us a talk.
Yes. Can I share my screen now or?
Siguro in a bit, no? I'll just introduce our other speaker for today. Also with us, representing the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, is Attorney Jose Tria Jr., the PAGCOR Special Assistant to the Chief Executive Officer and the concurrent Vice President of the iGaming Licensing and Regulation Group. Hello, Mr. Attorney Tria.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the participants.
Attorney, could I call you Jose or Joey?
Joey.
Joey is fine. Thank you. Yes. Thank you to Joey for joining us and giving us a presentation today.
Yes, indeed. We're grateful for your being our keynote speakers on the Manila Times Online Business Forum. Our title for today is Esports and Online Gaming, Boosting E-commerce. So welcome Marlon of PESO and Joey of PAGCOR.
Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm. So, Jim, yes,
we're especially grateful to PAGCOR for being the special partner without which our forum today wouldn't be possible. We also welcome the support of our organization partners, the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Philippines, the Davao City Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or DCCII, the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, or FINEX, the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines Incorporated, or ICCPI, the Management Association of the Philippines, or MAP, AMP, the Nordic Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, and She Talks Peace. And of course, our media partner is the Manila Times TV. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you very much, yung ating mga special and organization partners. Alam mo, Jing, they've always been consistently supportive of our forum last week, this week, and I understand we have a series of other fora lined up now. So the Manila Times is thankful to you all for boosting our forum today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jing, let the games begin, so to speak, with sports and online gaming and how they boost e-commerce. So we can start perhaps with our first keynote speaker.
Okay, our first speaker works for the Umbrella Organization, the organization that represents major players in the local esports industry. He has worked to facilitate the launch of esports competitions during the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Prior to this, he has helped organize esports even from neighborhood tournaments to the Manila Master Dota 2 global event held at the SM Mall of Asia Arena in 2017. Laki ng mga cash prizes dyan sa mga ganyang gaming. He has had over 10 years of experience working with Mineski and was the director of the company's youth esports program, and he is also renowned for being the voice in popular Dota 2's Lakad Matatag, the first Filipino e-game voice pack. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our first speaker, Marlon Marcelo, PESO Interim Executive Director. Marlon, the screen is now yours.
Thank you, guys. So let me just share my screen here. So I'm going to talk about Esports 101. So just a very, I would say, basic background of esports and where we are as of the moment in terms of the Philippine setting. So just to give you a brief background, yes, I did have a lot of experience in esports. Currently, that was my first job. And then as I move forward to the ladder, I started in events and cyber cafes, then slowly moved up to the Philippine Esports Organization, wherein I'm in the interim executive director. I have a computer science degree from DLSU, and I'm currently taking my master's at the same university. So just to give you a briefer, Philippine Esports Organization is the official NSA is for the Philippines. So what an NSA does, its mission, our mission is to make sure that esports becomes a sport wherein it actually gives a positive impact to Philippines through fair competition, inclusivity, and fair play. Think of it as we are the SBP. If you would know SBP for the basketball, we are the actual group handling esports. So we have a lot of members coming in from the local industry that actually is the stakeholders for this booming industry. We also got recognized by POC as a full member last May. So just to give you a brief for what is esports and how is it different from ordinary gaming, what esports currently is happening right now, it's really a boom, and it became sexy just because, of course, it became the youth's sport. Especially in the pandemic, what happened was everyone was not being able to move out from their homes, and their devices actually became their secondary tool for entertainment. And of course, being entertained requires you to actually, I would say, interact with different kinds of people, and Filipinos being known to become, I would say, a social being, that's where gaming actually came in. But for those that actually have no idea, esports has the three different segments. Now you have the esports ecosystem, wherein you see it as a normal traditional sports like NBA, basketball, volleyball, something like that. It also is a marketing tool wherein, of course, engagement for consumers is actually very interesting because you have the youth that is actually primarily engaged with different brands. So they actually, esports becomes a marketing tool to engage these kinds of demographic. Lastly, it also does, of course, gives rise to the events industries wherein pre-pandemic, one of the biggest industries that is actually booming prior to COVID is the esports industry, wherein live events, digital broadcasts, event marketings, live streamings were actually the norm pre-pandemic. So just to give you the idea, esports is not gaming. E-games also is not esports, no. So when you say gaming, you are actually just playing and listening to music. It's a term for us that different in such a way that esports, you actually mean the sporting spectacle of esports. So more than just playing a game, it is actually engaging the fans, watching the competition, official tournaments, and discussing the competitive scene. No, it's kind of different. When you say regular gaming, you just play the game for yourself, you play with your friends, or you just want to be entertained. So esports in a whole is a different kind of beast. We have different platforms wherein people or gamers can actually play. At most, we have three. First of all, you have PC. This is the traditional type of video game playing wherein you actually play your game into the PC, connect your PC to the internet, and then interact. One of the biggest drivers right now, it's the mobile platform. This is driven by the easy access of, I would say, the audiences. Just because they have their own device already, they can play the game at their own disposal. And mostly the traditional ones are the consoles, your Xbox, PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, which of course also contributes to the esports space just because they have specific console games, or more commonly known in the Philippines as, of course, the traditional tabletop console games. We have Tekken, Street Fighter, NBA 2K. Most recently in the mobile space, we have Mobile Legends, Clash Royale, Call of Duty, PUBG M, and then the PC, it's the traditional ones. We have the StarCraft 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and the likes. So in hindsight, in our data that we actually consume, we see that esports in particular is actually moving into the millennial audiences. We have gamers. We see gamers from, of course, the early stages from 6 to at least 50 years old. But of course, esports audience is different. They are in the 15 to 35 range, and I would say in terms of in terms of the language, they are really native to the digital space. Currently, if we would like to see their profile, of course they know what they want. Uh, Most of the time they spend is in the digital space. They know a lot of social media, they know a lot of YouTube, and they prefer on-the-go connectivity. So this is our audience. In the PH gaming industry, we see we have 43 number of gamers, and definitely on the online gaming platforms, on the platform side, you see it's more of the mobile space we're in, because of course your cell phone actually becomes your secondary entertainment tool. And if you would want to have PC and console, that of course would require more money and investment on the gamer side. So most of the Filipinos prefer mobile gaming just because it's more accessible. And you would see that there is not a big discrepancy of Filipino gamers from the ratio of the gender. We see here that it's 53 to 47. So there's a big connotation that esports or gaming is only for the males. We beg to differ on that. Gaming is for everyone. And definitely one great stat that you can see is there is a 36% cross-platform engagement. It means that a mobile gamer can actually be also a PC gamer, and a mobile gamer can also be a console gamer, and vice versa. So just to give you an idea, what we have, we Filipinos are seen as excellent esports athletes. We've seen that in the recently concluded SEA Games wherein we fielded 8 teams from different game categories, from different platforms, and happy to say that 50% of them actually turned into medals. We have, of course, your C-Ball. C-Ball is the Philippine representation or Philippine team for esports. So we have your gold medalist in Mobile Legends, Wild Rift, and then we have your silver medalist for League of Legends and Crossfire. So more news as we speak for Philippine Esports Organization and for our federation itself. We are also preparing for the Asian Games, which of course was, I would say, delayed as moved by China. And of course, we're planning to also prepare for the next SEA Games, which will be in Cambodia in 2023. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you learned something from the very basics of esports, and you see how it actually is becoming a bigger chunk of, I would say, the youth's pastime, and it would become sooner or later one of the prevalent things that will be part of the youth or their culture. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your very engaging talk, Marlon. Now, regarding your presentation, we have a whole lot of questions that we want to hurl at you, but we'll reserve most of them till after the second speaker finishes his talk. But maybe we can accommodate at least one or two for now. Jing, is there something you're itching to ask Marlon about what he shared with us today?
Yes, Marlon, with the sudden digitalization spread in the country during the pandemic, nakatulong ba yung bilis ng ating internet service, like for example coming from the fixed broadband coming from the likes of Converge ICT, which they provided their lines all over the country now. Nakatulong ba to sa esports, especially now na alam naman natin na ang dami nanonood as being a spectator sports?
Yes, definitely. One of the things that we saw in the trends was esports actually is, or gaming as a whole, the gaming market actually grew by leaps and bounds, just because, of course, number one, traditional sports was not actually you cannot actually do traditional sports. And then after you going to class, right, online, what can you actually do to relax and socialize with? So there is a significant increase of gamers from all over the platforms. And it also helped that, of course, we got stable internet from the time that the pandemic went out. Everyone actually needed a good or a stable internet connection just to play their games as well. Of course, that's secondary. Their primary need for a stable and good internet will come from their work or from their education.
Thanks for that, Marlon. Actually, I'd like to give a follow-up question because you did mention or answer the question that dumami nga talaga yung mga players natin, no? Lalo na dahil yung entry level would be most likely through mobile phones, no? So dumami yung mga gamers natin online especially for the mobile phone platform. Tapos what can you say about kasi yung like before, you have like basketball or boxing or even billiards, naging pathways for a number of people para yung kahit paano may ahon nila yung sarili or yung family nila into a better life, no? Do you have any would you be able to cite or would you know of examples ng people who've been able to leverage yung gaming boom in order to provide for themselves or their families a more comfortable or an improvement in their lives?
Yes, definitely. From our organization, we see a lot of esports athletes become the next generation rock stars. We have Dota players that are actually playing outside the country, gaining six-figure salaries because of their your skill. So world-class level athletes na rin sila, and they actually make a lot of money from this industry. Right now sa Pilipinas, we see a lot of mobile gamers or mobile esports performers that nakakataba ng puso are actually able to afford a house because of their prize winnings when they actually compete into international events. Hindi naman esports is also one of the big drivers, the prize pool. So basically, if you join a tournament in the US or in China or in Korea, they have millions of pesos of cash prizes, and I would say the Filipinos are very good at it. Nakaka-podium finish tayo, wherein, of course, if you convert that into pesos, that would be in terms of hundreds and millions of pesos already. Napapanalunan nila.
Okay, maybe Jing, we can dive further and deeper into that later during our open forum.
Of course, yeah.
We'll put a pause on that, pero we'll continue playing that train of thought mamaya. No, pero I do need to, or I want to ask, no, kamusta Jing yung internet service so far during itong leg ng pandemic?
Oh, well, it's okay, no? Buti na lang yung mga ISP naging sila, very concerned din sila sa mga plight ng mga, especially for the work for home people, no? They were really doing it good for them, and yun na nga parati ko sinasabi, it's good that we already have a digital landscape even before the pandemic. So tuloy-tuloy lang kumbaga naging tuloy-tuloy lang siya during the pandemic, and they even increased the services either for speed or yung area of responsibility nila, service area nila.
Kumusta yung naging experience mo sa Converge ICT Solutions?
Doon sa kabilang bahay namin, we're using that, and yes, umaabot ako ng 100 to 200 Mbps.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good internet service for
pwede
us.
maki-internet na lang sa kabilang bahay.
Pataas yung binibigay nilang kanilang bandwidth sa mga tao.
Okay. So, well, we'll get back to you, Marla. No? So first, we'd like to listen to our second speaker, and we'll resume later on for the next batch of questions and your answers. Now, our second speaker studied law at San Beda College after earning a degree in political science from the University of Nueva Cáceres in 1994, passing the bar in 1999. Now, he also worked at the Bureau of Immigration from 2001 to 2015 in various capacities before becoming the Assistant Provincial Attorney of the Provincial Government of Camarines Sur till about 2017. Now, at present, he is the PAGCOR Special Assistant to the Chief Executive Officer and is concurrently Vice President for the iGaming Licensing and Regulation Group. So, ladies and gents, I give you Attorney Jose Tria Jr. The screen is yours, Joey.
Good morning to all our participants.
Good morning.
Thank you for the introduction. I'd like to start with, as what Marlon has did earlier, he explained what is esports. I'll be explaining what is e-games also under the framework of PAGCOR. Before PAGCOR would usually refer to all the games that we're offering as gaming also, hence the confusion. So now we have to distinguish it. The reason why PAGCOR would refer to the games that we offer as gaming, because we would like to maintain these games as a mere form of amusement or entertainment for our clients, not as a means of earning a livelihood or making it as a profession. So we call it gaming. But maybe for this forum, I'd settle for the term gambling as being handled by PAGCOR, just to make it more, just to make the difference clear that what PAGCOR offers are not the same as the esports gaming being offered by the other sector, by the other industries or other sectors. Okay. So what I was asked to discuss this morning is e-games as offered by PAGCOR. So under our framework, e-games are actually casino games, same as what you can see when you go to brick and mortar casinos. We have pokers, slot machines, baccarat, and all the other games. But these are computer generated. That is why we called it e-games. No? Originally, this is not offered online. You have to go to a physical site, which we call betting stations. You go there, and that is only the place where you can play and place your bets. So e-games, because again, as I have said, these are computer generated games. So when you go to the betting stations, you don't see live tables, you don't have live dealers, you just have a console or a PC in front of you, and then you start playing the games. So, but when the pandemic came, although even prior to the pandemic, there were already requests from our operators and licensees to allow them to offer these games online to their players. PAGCOR as a regulator has refused to grant the request because we were trying to avoid ease of access to these games. So, but when the pandemic came, with the restrictions imposed, so people can no longer physically go to the betting sites. So the industry was starting to suffer, and so to save the industry and allow them to continue with their business and continue earning income, plus the need of the government for the revenues during the pandemic, the board of directors of PAGCOR allowed the offering of these e-games being offered at the physical sites to be offered to their players online. Originally, what was only allowed by the board was that the existing registered players or carded players of the physical sites were the only ones allowed to access the games online. But eventually, when people started learning, or when people were forced to familiarize themselves with online transactions during the pandemic, the clamor increased that even new players should be allowed to access the games online. Also, with the observation of our monitoring teams that illegal websites were already sprouting in the internet, even on Facebook, offering casino games also illegally. So the board allowed full implementation of online games, or full rollout of online games, meaning even new players can now be allowed to register and play. Because if we do not do that, then the illegal gambling sector would take over the legal gambling sector. Because the illegals would allow anyone to play, would not even bother to conduct proper KYC or know your clients. So even minors were being allowed to play. So what we did was to allow our legal operators to offer it online fully, but of course with strict regulations and ensuring that all unqualified players are not allowed to play. Now, the big question now is, will this be allowed to continue since the quarantine restrictions has now been lowered? The pandemic seems to have passed. I would say it would all depend on the next administration if they would allow it. Because, of course, from the side of the government, we're looking at it as a source of revenue. If the need for there's a need for more revenues for the government, and the new administration want to look at gambling as source of revenues for the government, then probably this would be allowed to continue even without the pandemic. But of course, there is a need for better regulations. Because later I will be discussing also the challenges that we faced when we offered e-games online. It would also depend on the preference of the players. Maybe probably we would see that if we stop, or for example, we suspend the rollout of online games or these e-games being made available online, and it strengthened or it resulted to the proliferation of illegal websites on the internet, meaning that it conveys to us that players are now preferring online games over physical sites. So especially as later, as we would see on the income, we monitored during the past year and the present year, especially on sports, online sports, then ang laki nung tinaas ng income. It is probably because online sports are live games. You don't really have the time to run and go to the physical sites and bet. So you really need to do it online. So admittedly, the gaming sector is also experiencing a change or morphing into a new mode of gaming, which is online gaming also. Halos lahat naman yata, from shopping, to food and everything. Everything's going online now. So we see that also as an upcoming trend, and online gaming or online gambling for this forum. So probably the next administration should also consider that, because as as I have said, if we do not go with the times, or we do not adapt, or we do not respond to the preferences of the players, then the illegal operators would probably gain more than the government, and the government ends up losing or not receiving any revenue from from the income derived by these illegal operators. Okay. So the challenges, since this is a new trend for the gaming industry, number one challenge is the sprouting of the illegal websites. The law enforcement agencies are having a hard time going after these illegal websites. It's easy to take down a website, but it doesn't prevent the illegal operators from opening new sites. So as experienced, we would take down, for example, one illegal website. The next day, they would replace it with 10 or 11. In fact, one illegal website that we took down, on the next day, there were 63 new websites coming from the same illegal operator. So it's really a hard game to control. Also, the problem is, since we don't have any laws on online gaming right now, then these people, they have the temerity or the courage to conduct illegal gaming. Medyo papasok lang kasi sila doon pa rin, under the old penal laws on illegal gambling, which unfortunately enumerates the games which are not allowed. On online games, it's not among the enumeration. So there's a loophole. There's somewhat a loophole in the law. Another challenge is how to control the participation of unqualified players. So we all know, we heard the news, especially during the time that e-sabong was still allowed. minors were able to play. The government officials are actually not allowed to play, were also able to play. And another challenge that we faced was gambling addiction. So since the offering the games online would make it very easy for them to access the games at ang sabi nga, at the comfort of your own homes. You do not even need to seek the permission of your family members because if you would go to a physical station, then they would usually know that you're going there. But but with the online platform, you can just stay inside your room and start playing, and nobody knows you're already gambling and you're losing money. So, and another problem is you can access it at any time. So that's the big problem that we're also facing. So ako mismo na, I had that experience. I went I went to a commercial space and the guard was actually watching Isabong while on duty. So that's another big problem for us. So these are the challenges that we faced. So probably since this is relatively new, PAGCOR through experience would be able to come up with better regulations as we go on, as we move forward. The only problem is as we try to answer or to address issues that we face, the development of online technology is also fast-paced. So every day may bago kami kailangan i-address. Every month we have to address a new one. So this would be a challenge, but I'm sure PAGCOR will be able to come up with better regulations if these online games would be allowed to continue. If you can share the slide that I gave, we would see the income derived by PAGCOR from online games. So from 2016 to 2019, online gaming was still not allowed in the local scene. So what was allowed before is POGO, which is online gaming, but these are games offered to foreign nationals, players outside of our jurisdiction. So online gaming offered to local players only started in 2020. As I have said, it started together with the pandemic. So if you look at the screen, we have there the amount. By the way, the amounts here are in billion pesos. So you can see here that there is a slow increase, but steady increase in the income being derived from online betting. On-site betting here on the screen means these are the income being derived from the physical betting sites, while the online betting is the income derived by PAGCOR from the internet. So if you look at electronic games here, in 2020, 0.07% only, but in 2021, it rose to 36.22% already, with physical betting sites only comprising 63%. But on the first quarter of 2022, on the income from online, actually this is not income, this is gross gaming revenue. Gross gaming revenue from online betting already increased to 53.29%, higher than the GGR from on-site betting, which is only 46.71. If you look at sports betting for 2022, first quarter, mas malaki yung difference na. Physical betting is only 22.68%, while online betting is already 77.32%. So this income stream shows us the trend that people are really preferring online games over physical betting or in-person betting through the physical sites. Okay, these are the income derived by PAGCOR. So you will see that income from online betting started from 2020 and is continually increasing to 2022. So these figures will probably be considered by the next administration and look at if this is a viable source of income. And on the other side, look at the regulation, if this can be properly regulated. Because we cannot just look at this as an income source. We always have to consider responsible gaming. So if this cannot be controlled, or this will result to addiction, or minors being allowed to play, or OFWs, people who are not financially capable of engaging in gaming as being involved in these games, then probably even if online gaming showing as good figures, probably the next administration will not allow this to continue. So online gaming right now is still in limbo. We do not know if it will be allowed to continue or not, but the figures show us that we have to look at it as a viable source of income. We only have to respond or be prepared with the proper regulations so that we can address the issues that we will face with online gaming or online gambling. So that ends my presentation. If you have questions, then I can probably entertain it now, or maybe you have a different time for the open forum. Thank you.
Jing.
Yeah, many thanks for all your good work and great talk, Joey.
Thank you.
Jing, I was thinking maybe we can get the ball rolling on our open forum. Perhaps you have a question that you're trying to ask Joey about his presentation. Ang dami mga facts and figures na mentioned.
Yes, I'm a bit concerned, Attorney Joey, when you mentioned regarding the illegal gambling site and regarding our laws and regulation. Are there any pending bills or lawmakers addressing this potential problem?
That's the problem. Right now, as we have seen, our legislators have not even decided if they would want to allow it or not. So they have to decide first if this would be allowed or not in the country. If this is allowed, then that's the only time they will probably start thinking about regulations or laws being passed. But right now, we're really confused whether they want to continue with it or not.
Well, is PAGCOR knocking at their Congress doors regarding this?
Yes. In fact, we've been, for example, when the offshore gaming, the Philippine offshore gaming was introduced, we pushed for a law to cover.
Okay.
Kasi ang dami, yun ang problem natin eh. We don't have existing laws to cover these kinds of gambling activities. So, pag wala siya, even the taxation becomes a problem, regulation becomes a problem.
Yes.
We were very lucky that at least for the POGO industry, a law was passed on the taxation, how the tax treatment of this industry. So medyo nagkaroon ng stability because even our operators and our licenses would also want laws to be passed kasi mas stable. The industry becomes more stable rather than being accused of not paying taxes. In fact, there's no tax, there's no law levying taxes on them.
And predictable, no? And
yes.
Businesses like predictability.
Yeah, predictability. Because no one would come and invest and be contented with a one-year plan only. So they would want a long-term plan, and they would want if there are laws covering it, then you will be able to better prepare a business plan.
The fourth?
Joey, I'd like to follow up on that because actually yung question ko medyo may pagka two-part. Kasi just to clarify, since you are the lead agency regarding gambling and this particular specific case, yung electronic gaming, how would you, in perhaps recommendatory capacity, propose the laws that they can then review and pass? Paano yung dynamic with the lawmakers in terms of what you see on the ground that would be good to implement and roll out? It's probably good that it's initiated by your agency and raised to the level of the House.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that we need to address is the criminal liability of illegal gambling being done through the internet. Kasi when you prosecute cases criminally, ang hirap niyan that is what you need is proof beyond reasonable doubt. If you miss one of the elements required by the law, then the case is dismissed. So if you do not have a law on all fours or squarely covering online gaming, most probably all cases for illegal gambling using the internet would be dismissed. So yun ang number one natin kailangan i-address under the law. When it comes to qualified or disqualified players, we already have it in our charter. So hindi na siya masyadong kailangan. Tax treatments, that's also another important thing to be passed by Congress. How do we treat? In fact, right now there's an ongoing debate on how you tax online sellers. So ito rin dapat ma-cover din yan para alam din siyempre for the investors to know how much expenses they have to set aside for the government para malinaw din. Because sometimes because there are no laws on the taxation of some of our operators, they look at PAGCOR on collecting the taxes. But we cannot PAGCOR on its own cannot impose taxes because this is the power of Congress. All we can impose are regulatory fees. So sometimes parang gusto nila the share that should have gone to the government should be collected through regulatory fees. But we can only do so much. We can impose the regulatory fees, but if it's not paid, not collected, then we still have to go to court, collect the unpaid regulatory fees. But if these are taxes, then the government will have the power to shut them down, to collect all these taxes, confiscate all their assets in payment of the taxes. So we have to look at the Congress will also have to look at how to tax these industries.
So in line with this, PAGCOR does have a kind of advisory or lobbying function in aid of legislation sa Congress.
Actually, we always coordinate with the finance department of the government kasi nasa kanila yan. So they look at how we can collect more taxes. So we always start with coordinating with the finance, and then that's the time. It's actually the Department of Finance who lobbies with Congress on what laws to pass, what taxes to be imposed on our licenses and operators.
Yeah, and the second part of my question actually is you brought up how there are illegal sites and then of course the legal government sites. Is it simply because that it's run or authorized or supervised by the government that makes it illegal? What are the criteria that make something that's not regulated by the government therefore illegal because certain things? You mentioned one thing which is the ease of entry. So kahit mga minors nakapaglaro, no? So klaro yun. But what are the other criteria that makes illegal gambling sites unsavory and therefore unsanctioned by the government? Kaya hindi sila binibigyan ng lisensya or not being allowed to further continue their operations.
Okay, actually, the general rule is all gambling activities are illegal.
Okay.
Except those regulated by the government. So once any game that you offer and you accept bets from players, then that's illegal gambling. Unless what you're offering is a game licensed or regulate or allowed or accredited by a government regulatory agency like PAGCOR, PCSO, and the other gaming regulatory bodies. So automatic, anything na you see in the internet or regardless of who they allow to play or what, it's automatically illegal.
Okay. So maybe at this stage we can ask Marlon to join the open forum, no? Because I'd like to segue into that since what makes something illegal in terms of gambling is that may betting na yan. It involves people on a particular platform. No? So in terms of esports, we know that there is some betting going on, whether on a large or small scale. How is the regulation then in that sphere of esports, Marlon?
I think in terms of the regulation, Peso has at least
on our part actually for ano kasi for esports we have different kinds of leagues, and the most or the biggest leagues actually also have some, of course, kind of betting in terms of that, no? So in the Philippine setting, I think we're still a small potato in terms of that. Pero the big events like the international, or I would say yung mga World Series, there is, but I guess it's only all being offered in the states or those that are actually have an advanced I would say frameworks wherein you can actually legally bet using your tools. So sa Pilipinas, I guess it's a small thing, and I'm not really sure if meron na sa Pilipinas na ganun.
Mhm. Okay, just to be technical, no, is it therefore then right now in the Philippines for esports illegal to bet on games, or it's a gray area that's not actionable or considered illegal?
For us kasi, since we're doing esports as a sport, definitely for us ano yun, bawal yun, because we wanted these players to actually become world class athletes. And of course, if there would be betting on the side, we are really adamant on making sure na malinis yung mga athletes natin. On competitions naman na nakikita nyo, like the NBA or such, the big leagues outside the Philippines, yung mga nasa North America, pasok na yung betting in terms of yung mga matches ng esports. So norm as any other sport, right? Kung maayos na yung liga and the players are actually stable, na yan, napapasok naman yan.
Mhm.
Marlon, may follow-up question lang ako dun sa regarding betting, no. Uso pa ba sa esports ang bentahan, buy and sell ng mga weapons, power-ups, mga ganon? Nagagamit ba yan sa esports? Kasi alam ko yung prices nun medyo din, over the top din, di ba?
Oh,
Kasi when you say esports kasi it's a game of skill eh. It's parang basketball. You have to have the skill to actually shoot and dribble and make the plays. So technically walang kinalaman yung mga items or yung binili. So esports is a level playing field. So what the beauty of esports is matangkad ka, maliit ka, payat ka, mataba ka. It does not matter. It's the skill that you actually do
behind the keyboard.
inside the game. Yes. So, yung sinasabi na mas marami akong weapon, mas marami akong perang in-invest para to actually buy the item, it's not really applicable in esports eh. Esports is a level playing field. We wanted it to become like an ordinary sport. You have to follow a certain rule within the uniform space. So if you play a game, everyone must have the same phone or everyone must have the same PC specs, and then you play with your skill.
That's okay. The fourth?
yes. Marlon, what are the other challenges that you've had to introduce, or in terms of having launched or help make the esports industry boom? No, what are, apart from helping make a level playing field for everyone, what are the other things that you've experienced in terms of challenges or even difficulties?
Of course, definitely that would be first is yung acceptance. Of course, not everyone is actually involved in the digital space or would not have any, I would say, knowledge of this, and they would always be at the bad mindset na, kaka-computer mo yan, kakalaro mo yan. No?
Wala kang mapapala dyan, di ba?
Yes, as attorney Joey said, we also advocate responsible gaming. Because definitely, right, if you play like 10 hours, 12 hours, yes, gagaling ka, but you're actually not actually being responsible as a student or as a brother or as a family member or as a Filipino. You have to be you have to have it balanced. Because of course this is really one of the it has become like 10 years ago ang uso bilyar. Right now it's esports eh. It's the sexy thing to do sa youth. It's just because everyone is already connected and it's easy to play, right? So everyone is actually into that space, the digital space, and we are having at the first place, like 10 years ago, it's the acceptance. Some of the government agencies are actually saying, really, are you an athlete? Well, in other countries, professional esports players are already being recognized.
Mga rock stars na sila.
Now, yes, but now it's different. I think we have a lot of support from the government, POC, PSC. They know for a fact that Filipinos are really good in gaming. So, ano na, it's become better and better. And due to the pandemic, everyone actually learned a lot of things, especially from the digitalization skills. No, previously, it's like I can actually live with on just reading and writing. Now, you have to know digital skills to actually survive. And everyone nag-level up lahat eh. Because of the pandemic, everyone was connected to a device, and they see na, okay, this is esports, and pareho lang pala ng sports.
The fourth, I think, ang mahirap lang i-convince dyan, yung mga magulang, no? The parents. Sila mahirap i-convince dyan. Pero Marlon, do you need regulation, government intervention sa mga gantong esports? O meron ba? O gusto nyo lang free for all lang yung yung
currently,
environment?
If gaming per se, we are under GAB naman eh, for professional athletes. So for a peso, which is a non-stock non-profit, we actually care for the grassroots and the amateurs, moving, helping them become pro. So we are teaching them responsible gaming, making sure that they know what are the process if you want to become pros, because these are kids eh. Like some pros, they will be signed by a team 15, 16 years old, diba? So they don't have a knowledge of a contract, their salaries and their responsibilities as a pro gamer. We actually help them. But other than that, for us, it's we submit to, of course, all the government agencies that we would like to cooperate. Pero our professional athletes are under GAB.
Well, Marlon, you mentioned that in other countries, they have started to be accepted, or they've gained greater acceptance even. What does that mean exactly? Pag na-accept ka na sa particular country, what happens to an esports athlete?
It's the same as any...
Sa buhay nila, what perks do they get? What to aspire for, actually, is the question in terms of, we have our Filipino athletes who have the talent, but we're not there yet in terms of the acceptance. So, pag na-accept tayo, and this is what we're gunning for, what's the dream? And what's
definitely,
happening?
If I would like to move it like Miss Heidelin, no? Na nakita natin when she succeeded, there was a lot of buzz. She was hip as a hero. She actually had a lot of endorsement. That's the kind of acceptance that we would want to have. And slowly and surely, we are getting there naman. It's just a matter of time and making sure that these athletes excel in what they do, and to provide that with of course the facilities and training capabilities that we have to be competitive.
Maybe we can ask the Attorney Joey also in terms of because we did bring up a while ago for esports that in the Philippines currently wala pa tayong sports betting, no? But given that, like in the NBA and other major leagues, it's legitimate. It's not frowned upon. It's normal within certain bounds. No, it's acceptable. Attorney Joey, what's the road toward making esports betting viable and acceptable and totally above board? What's the road toward that?
Madali lang naman po yun. Actually, as you have said, most of the sports now that we can see live are now being offered also for betting under the sports betting licenses offered by PAGCOR. So they can just easily add esports as part of the games being offered for betting. They only have to present to us kung ano yung mga ads na kailangan tayaan doon. So, what will they offer as ads? Is it just who wins? Yun na yun? Or because there's always a lot of varieties on how you bet on the results of these games. It's not hindi siya yung basic na who wins the game. Ang daming combination. So they just have to present to us what forms of betting will they offer, ano yung mga odds, ano yung mga kailangan tayaan doon sa esports, and then we'll have to see kung okay siya, will it affect the results of the games? Kasi yan ang number one nating worry. Yung players are now being convinced by these operators to rig the results of the game. So that's one thing that we need to look.
But essentially, for first step, it's supposed to be siguro Jing, ang tama lang, it's just for initially submission muna ng mechanics, ng specifics para for review and approval lang, and then go na siya.
May gusto lang di ako tanongin about current trend in gaming. No, I think both of you can answer this. These games, introduce a lot of people to new technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrency. What can you say about this new trend about yung play to earn, like yung mga Axie Infinity? Anong dito ng PAGCOR at ano nakikita dito ng peso?
Okay, for PAGCOR, as I said earlier, for us, gambling should not be looked at as a means to earn, or to double your money or what. So we haven't received any proposals on this type of offerings, and would probably we will not allow those kinds of offerings.
Marlon?
For peso naman, so we are looking at different entity. This is a different beast. So of course, as you said, Axie Infinity, blockchain, cryptocurrency is part of Web 3.0. And definitely this is a new technology that even us are still trying to understand where is it going to and fro. For peso stand on this is just to be open, but our mandate is esports. It's different from the Web 3.0. So I guess there is a link, but since the technology is still not yet proven, and I would say it's still no man's land. We would still want to prefer to just focus on esports as a whole.
Okay.
That's peso stand.
Marlon, we have a question here from our audience, from Oli of Olongapo. While esports is normally seen as a mind game, it needs a sound body pa rin, to sustain. Siyempre may stress yan, meron kang kailangan. Yung physical reactions mo, ano pa rin yan, still involves your senses, and even yung down to yung health ng limbs mo, di ba? Para talagang alisto talaga. So, what individual physical and group training programs do esports athletes now undergo? Yung para ma-maximize yung capacities nila, brain, senses, and all their facilities.
Definitely, there is what happens to a regular esports athlete or sa mga top professionals. They also have their physical and physical conditioning, wherein they go to the gym at least 4 times a week, make sure that their body is healthy, because other than, of course, the reflexes on the mind, you also need to have quick reflexes on your hands, on your eyes, and then of course quick decision making. So definitely there is in some advanced organizations, or even in the Philippines, we see already physical training programs. So not much of a difference from a regular athlete. They actually have I would say 4 to 3 days of physical training, at least 1 hour per day. So nag-gym sila, either they run just to remove the stress, because if you actually play, it's well documented that you might suffer different injuries coming in from playing 8 hours straight. So you might have carpal tunnel or bad posture.
Yes.
So this one is really important as well. And safe to say, meron naman mga physical programs na ginagawa.
Hindi pala tayo ligtas, Jig, sa mga gym and exercise.
And yung bagong couch potato.
You would see that some of the pro athletes are really buff and have great posture, because it affects their performance.
may training talaga sila. Ina-house sila sa isang lugar tapos doon sila doon sila nagkakaroon ng training, physical and ng mind conditioning din at the same time.
Yes.
Hindi basta-basta, hindi kumbaga hindi ganun kadali.
Yes.
Pero worth it.
Agree.
Marlon, clearly, no, in your talk you mentioned it's yung demographic niya is pretty much the millennials now. But seeing as how it's a viable means of unlike let's say gambling, yung esports is a viable form of pursuit in terms of ito yung gusto kong maging, ito yung gusto kong gawin. Masaya ako dito and I can help support myself or my family with it. How then would let's say ibang demographic, let's say Gen X, diba? Or even sabihin mo yung mga techie na elder. What if meron bang idea na or may market ba yan to form a league ng mga gamers of the not so millennial?
Okay. We call that Tito gamers eh. Unfortunately, us, mga titos, we don't have the market already just because we would lack the hand speed, the eye coordination. It has been documented kasi that of course on your formative years or at least mga early 18s to 20s, that's where your hand-eye coordination is the fastest. That's why in gaming or in esports, you retire early.
Okay.
You retire at
Early.
28.
Oh,
Bagal
really?
na yung hand-eye coordination mo.
Really?
So late 30s,
So Jing, you have mga 2 years to go.
Hanggang Famicom na lang ako eh.
Late 30s, you actually just become a support or the back end. Like you become a caster, a coach, or an analyst. But those that has the fastest hands and the fastest eyesight, the reaction time, it's reserved for the kids like mga 16, yan. 16 onwards, 15 onwards, yan. Their reaction is really at par to the best of the best.
Yeah, wala bang age limit kasi yung mga mas bata di ba? Like for example sa gambling, suppose hindi pwede minors, pero sa esports, is there such a thing as a minor o wala, meron ba?
Definitely there is different regulations we follow.
Okay.
So from the SEA Games, the age is 18. You cannot field an athlete na hindi 18 years old. So sa international sa international scene, the median age is 15. But you have to have parents' consent. Right?
Okay.
So if you wanted to start your esports career, diba? You should be a very good gamer at the very young age, 15, 16, para makuha mo yung prime.
Well, following the same line of thought, I'd like to address naman a question to Attorney Joey kasi we have this Statista Research Department forecast about online gaming revenues now. It's projected to be by 2025 about $1.52 billion.
Wow.
And this was in 2021 pa November done, no? So Joey, what are the not to earn from gambling itself, but from the industry? The various jobs that are available in the online game industry, and what are the details about that, like salaries? Are there any upskilling programs, whether they're free or inexpensive? Kasi again, it's an opportunity to help those, lalo na yung mga nawalan ng trabaho throughout the pandemic, whether it's something that they can consider as an alternative or something that actually interests them in terms of pursuing and entering the industry. And being gainfully employed by PAGCOR and or the associated companies with it. Joey?
Actually, I'm not very familiar with the salaries, pero I'm sure the IT sector would benefit very much from online gaming. Kung nandun sa linyang yun yung hinahanap ngayon ng mga operators and licenses natin. Because the truth is we're moving from a physical site to the cloud. So, yun na yung mga kailangan nilang employees ngayon, mga IT experts. And also marketing, because they also have to market the games to local players. So kailangan din nila yung aspect nila. But of course, the downside of it is we would be seeing a reduction in the employees on the physical sites also. Kasi bababa na yung number of players doon. So they would need less people there. But they would need more people for R&D, research and development, how to improve their games, how to support their clients, the customer relations sector. Yun yung mga magbe-benefit from online games.
What about the plans or proposals about the addressing the lessened employment or opportunities for on-site na mga gaming employees or personnel? Are there any ongoing in terms of actual programs or at least plans in the pipeline?
So far kasi ngayon wala pa naman tayo nakikitang malaking reduction dun sa employees.
Okay, that's great.
We're just looking at the possibility na once lumaki yung sector ng online game, ng online gambling, then it would automatically have an effect on those employed on the physical side. But for now, wala pa. Kasi as I have mentioned earlier, wala pa nga malinaw if this would be allowed to continue.
Okay.
So,
it's just that the figures you showed kanina clearly showed the discrepancy, although it's also factored in because of the earlier restrictions.
Yeah, because of the restrictions.
Movement. Jing, do you have any follow-up questions? Or
Actually, meron tayo question address ko kay Marlon. I'm sure ito rin yung mga gusto din malaman ng mga iba nakikinig sa atin. From Elvira of España Avenue. What are the practical steps to become a talagang paid professional esports athlete? Emphasis on paid.
Definitely, you have to be very good at it. So, you have to show up in the tournaments and make yourselves known. Sa mga esports titles, they have their own local leaderboards. So, definitely, if you would want to become a pro, you need to be scouted and be known for your skill. So, on the local leaderboards naman, like we see a lot of Filipino players are actually excelling. So, you have to become very good at your game that you wanted to play. The local leaderboards actually give you an idea of where you are. If you say that you are ranked, I would say less than 100 from the QC players na naglalaro nung game mo, you would know na hindi para sa yung game na yan. But if you are at the top 100 of all Filipino players, there's a chance that you might get scouted. So you also need to be practical. No? It's not just that you love the game, right? There's a lot of Filipino basketball players that actually love the game but don't know the basics or the fundamentals of dribbling, shooting. Iba yun eh. So you have to be very good para maging paid player ka.
So Marlon, what are ano yung mga arena, ano yung mga association that's good to be in where you have all these scouts that you mentioned na pwede kang ma-discover or ma-recommend?
Normally, every game, kasi every game title and every platform has their own different sets of rules or leaderboards. You have to be very good at that and just join the local events. And then, if you succeed in joining the local events, you should try to join the national events. So it's like a similar progression. Like you join your local league, taga NCR ka muna, you become the best of NCR and then you become the best of the country. Then you have a chance to be scouted. Yeah.
So you have other questions, Jing, from our audience or from our viewers?
I'm looking at actually ito siguro nasagot na rin to, pero I would like to para lang magkaroon lang ma-emphasize lang ulit ng konti from Bell of Nueva Ecija. What difficulties have you had to deal with and what challenges do you foresee in the near future when it comes to e-sport dahil nga may mga birth pains ito?
Definitely one of the things is acceptance. The other thing is connectivity. Connectivity. When you say esports, right, you need to have a good connection to actually compete. So if mabagal yung connection mo, you have a chance of losing almost 90% of the time. You need to have a good internet connection so that you can compete locally and internationally. That's the number one thing that you need to invest in. Never mind the equipment. You can have a substandard equipment or a substandard PC, but you need to have a fast, reliable connection para mag-succeed.
Yan, the fourth, kaya kailangan pag fixed broadband, naka-converge ICT ka. Di ba?
Mahirap na talagang kasi, lalo na, we have di ba? Okay, just to bring in an added level of difficulty, meron tayong climate change, di ba? So bagyo ng bagyo, and all sorts of kahit yung mga pagsasabog ng vulkan, na-affect din yun yung atmosphere, di ba? So eventually, yung weather patterns affects yung internet connectivity. For some reason, no, sometimes talagang yung Wi-Fi, posibleng magloko kung hindi ka nasa sa tamang, kumbaga ISP.
Yes, that's so true.
Well, here's a question from Sev of Santiago. This is for Joey, no, for PAGCOR. Kasi it was brought up that you had mechanisms for monitoring and regulating. So, in terms of what would be, I guess the question is more like, what kinds of monitoring and regulating powers or capabilities would PAGCOR like to be given, or would be useful to be passed into law by Congress? What are the other or further types of authority that would be good for PAGCOR?
Is the question referring to the playing hours?
It could be anything, I think, because the question is asking about yung mechanisms ng monitoring and regulating ng mga betting.
Okay.
So how could it be improved, I guess? Anong magandang idagdag or may enhance in terms of monitoring and regulating sa betting?
Actually, most of the monitoring, if we are referring to the monitoring tools, pwede yan sa regulations lang ni PAGCOR. We don't need a law for that. So we can actually, for example, we can actually require the operators to have a player tracking system where you can track the betting activities of each and every player. Then you can actually probably put a cap on the amount of bets he can put, he can wager, or the amount of money he can top up on his accounts. Yung improvement din dun sa conduct ng KYC is a big thing also, the know your client. At first, we allowed the opening of betting accounts through online, but with lesser regulation. So, ang daming nakalusot dun sa, most of them just ask for the names, ask for the age, password, and a username, then they already started playing without submission of any documents, IDs, or whatever to support or proof that they are qualified or they are already of proper age to join the games. So, na-address naman na yun lahat ni PAGCOR. But as I have said, as new technologies come in, then nababypass yung ibang regulations. They always find a way of skirting the regulation. So, continuous yung adjustments namin ng regulation.
Ikaw ba, Jing, na-experience mo na ba ang online gaming?
No, I'm not a gambler. Kaya hindi yata issue sa akin. I'm not a gambler. Kahit even if I'm nasa casino or Las Vegas, kahit nga yung slot machine, hindi ko linalapitan.
But esports or gaming, at least, that's something that you
yes. Pagdating sa esports, kasama ko yung mga anak ko na they actually play, and nakikita ko sila and nakikita ko how it goes.
Well,
mga spectator sports siya, pumupunta rin kami. Nanonood kami.
Kasi yun nga yung mga, lalo na collegiate sports, no, meron tayong questions kasi in relation to that. Caitlin Tan from DLSU Manila is asking what are the chances of having esports in UAP or NCAA?
Oo nga, no? Yes, good question.
So,
yeah, definitely there will come a time that esports will be included on that. It's just a matter of maybe the acceptance, because we already know that esports is being a medal sports in SEA Games, Asian Games. So sooner or later it will flourish. We know for a fact, even I from galing ako sa DLSU, we have already esports clubs or esports organizations from
apparently
different schools.
Caitlin was saying that maraming universities and colleges, may mga organizations na nga that are looking to be able to field their teams sa mga national, international competitions.
I guess it will all go down to, of course, the UAP and NCAA's I would say, insistence that esports can actually become a sport then. No. So number one, that would be up to the UAAP board, but I guess it will come sooner rather than later because other countries actually have collegiate leagues already na esports. So what's the difference from us? Wala naman eh. Yeah.
Sino ba from where would it be good na yung initiative starts? Is it from PESO or from the athletes?
Definitely, it would come from PESO because PESO is, like I said, it's like the SBPA, right? We would want to have esports in, of course, our priorities we want to spread esports to everyone sa Pilipinas. So there are a lot of challenges. We just became a full member. We came from an associate member. The organization itself is fairly new. We just started like a year ago. So we have a lot of challenges, but the first and one of our mandates is to field in international athletes. Like SBP, we are the ones that are actually in charge of sending Filipino athletes sa mga international competitions. So that's why you see CBOL, it's like the Gilas of Philippines naman. So that's one of our mandates. So we have to compete and make sure that our players are good. We get medals, and if we get medals, we see a lot of development and of course the validation that magaling talaga yung Filipino sa esports. May feature tayo dyan. So that's one of our first few phases of I would say the organization.
For those of our viewers that are not that familiar with CBOL, how were you able to form the team, the national team, in terms of since we don't have collegiate sports yet and hindi tayo doon nag-harvest ng the best and the brightest, how did you manage to pull them from the various yung mga events and gaming competitions locally?
Definitely, when we actually did the CBOL, we already have a list of teams, or we handed out specific invites to professional teams na nasa Pilipinas na that would want to actually compete with with respect to become CBOL. So what we actually did was, of course, in a normal setting, we would want to have a tryout or a combine, diba? So if you want to represent your Philippine team, you must have credentials, you must be a pro. So we actually did that on a very fast notice, and we had a mini tournament wherein if you are the champion, you become the Filipino team to represent SEA Games. And that was done in the midst of pandemic. So initially, that was the remedy that we had to do, just because we don't have time to actually have the proper tryouts or combine. So definitely we would want to try it out na best of the best na talaga. It so happened lang that we were able to select a team na buo na just because of pandemic restrictions. But the scenario, the perfect scenario, it's the same as any other sport, no? If you're a pro, you try out, and if you make the national team cut, you get selected to represent Philippines. But it so happened na teams lang muna yung nangyari just because of the pandemic. We're actually happy. We got 4 medals. That's not bad.
That's good, yeah.
For our organization.
Galing.
Medyo nag-blow up nga tong discussion about collegiate esports, no? Nag-comment nga, nag-second the motion si Margie Aureliano Jr., no? And then at the same time, I follow up din si Catherine Tan because regarding that point about starting the discussion about collegiate esports, is it like, how about the UAAP presidents or the presidents of the other esports organization? Do they write or do they contact PESO, or do they talk to the national sports organizations? What do you suggest would be the process for those really interested in making this happen sooner? Ano yung where should the ball kanino yung ball, or who's next in terms, or paano ba mag teamwork?
In terms of cooperation, PESO is really here to help everyone know more about the esports space, and if they would want to have a recommendation letter for us, just contact us. We are reaching out to different government agencies. DepEd came to us to consult for a possible digital palarong pambansa.
We have different government agencies asking us what is esports, how can we help,
Yes, because we also have a national sports university already, diba? So that's been something that's gelled together already. So maganda yan that at least DepEd mismo ang reach out. So there have been talks, no?
Yes, definitely for Peso naman, since we are a non-stock non-profit and we are considered one of the forefront in terms of gaming and technology. Our board members are actual business owners and very much into the esports space, so we would know what would be the trends and what would be how would the businesses move from one end to one end. So we would have foresight, and yeah, we are willing to cooperate naman as the NSA that will make sure that esports grows. It is into our interest that it is done really well ng maayos. You have guidance. If you don't have guidance kasi the perception of esports and of course online gaming for us it's going to be very bad. So we just want to make sure na guided yung mga organizations that would want to do it and do it right.
Mm-hmm. We have here a question for Joey, no? In terms of PAGCOR's existing games, you have virtual poker, online casino games, sports numbers games, you must sports betting, and also e-bingo. Are there other games in the pipeline or other games you're eyeing na pwedeng isama sa possibilities na mailaro? Kasi mukhang while the pandemic has lessened, hindi pa naman siya na-declare as endemic pa. So we'll still be glued to our screens, our gaming consoles and whatnot. So ano yung mga what do people have to look forward to in terms of variety sa offerings ng PAGCOR online games?
Actually, for now, wala pa kaming bagong online games na. We're not looking at new online games to offer. Ang daming proposals, but we really find it very difficult to approve them kasi medyo very dangerous nga yung ibang games if they are offered online. Meron dyan yung mga nag-offer na online billiards daw. You know, these are unregulated pa na sports, no? Walang, unlike esports now, may body na nag-handle. No? What billiards is being played anywhere. So you cannot just stream it live and then ask people to bet on it. So hindi naman, kumbaga, our point is not all games can be allowed to be live streamed and be offered to people for betting. We have to look at very highly regulated games para to make sure na the games are being conducted fairly and the players are not being cheated of their money.
That's true. Jing, your question?
Yeah, I'm good. I've learned a lot from today's forum. Dami ko natutunan about it.
Yeah, it's almost game over for our forum, no? So ano ba yung mga pinaka key takeaway mo, Jing, tungkol sa esports and online gaming, boosting e-commerce?
Well, the fourth definitely na define natin what is e-sport and what is e-gaming. So yan yung pinaka-great. Tapos ang dami rin yung how it helped the digital economy, especially at the time of the pandemic, at even at the height of the pandemic, ang dami rin gumamit nito, and nakatulong talaga. It's a boon to the economies, the digital economy. And then, like I said, it's great that the Philippines hindi tayo naiwan. Actually, medyo may mga challenges, pero definitely hindi tayo naiwan when it comes to digitalization. Kasi we've been doing that even before the pandemic. And yun na nga, lumaki na nung time na ng pandemic. And I hope it will continue further, no? And because, like I said, it's a great help for the country.
Yes, well, actually, I think yung talks ng ating two speakers were very well said and very well played, no, Jing? And para naman sa mga nakikinig natin mga magulang, mukhang may mapapala sa mga kalalaro ng mga games na yan, di ba?
Yes, dollars yan.
Umaahon sa kwarto, sa mga cellphone or sa mga monitor. So yes, may matutunguhan nga, and for some things that are either libangan lang, and then yung iba naman pwede talagang maging pagkakitaan, di ba? Gainfully employed.
Yes.
So this actually also gives hope to a number of our people, yung mga sabihin natin medyo are going through difficult times, di ba? This could be an alternative revenue stream in terms of esports. And at the same time, even in the online gaming sphere, there are openings, no, for IT and even for marketing and communications, no. So like you said, nakakatulong talaga itong ating esports and online gaming in many aspects ng ating society. So I think maybe we can ask our maybe Marlon to begin with. Now, would you like to give your final insights about our topic?
Thank you for having us here and for helping us clear out yung mga misconceptions about esports, and of course with our partner sa pagpapalaki ng esports. And this is a welcoming tool for us because of course since nanalo na yung mga gamers natin, everyone is asking what is esports, and now we're gaining traction because we see that esports is the future for the youth, and hopefully it's done right. Yun lang naman yung gusto natin. We would want to stay away from, of course, yung mga bad effects. We know for a fact that gaming or video games are a bit of addicting or nakakasira ng buhay, but if you look at it on another perspective, there is also the good things that we should benefit from if we do it right. And peso is always will always stand in the way of making sure esports grows, and we do esports responsibly. That's it.
Very well said. Yes.
Yes. Joey, how about you? Your final message for PAGCOR?
Okay, for all those who are really into internet gaming, and if you want to earn income, then go to esports. You'll lose everything on e-game. For us, for those just wanting to have some form of entertainment, you can try the online games offered by PAGCOR, but always remember, you have to play responsibly. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think that's a common thread between the two, no? Responsible
gaming. Yes.
So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Hope to see you again on another round of the Manila Times Online Business Forum. Thank you, Marlon and Joey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again with us today are Marlon Marcelo, the PESO Interim Executive Director, and Attorney Jose Tria Jr., the PAGCOR Special Assistant to the Chief Executive Officer and the concurrent Vice President for the iGaming Licensing and Regulation Group. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
And that's a wrap. I'm DeFort Villaseran.
And I'm Jane Garcia. Thanks also to our viewers. We hope you had a blast on the Manila Times Online Business Forum titled Esports and Online Gaming Boosting E-Commerce.
We encourage you all to have good sportsmanship and good game. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Converge ICT.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sign up for a year and pay less than 71 pesos per month. Visit tmt.ph/premium to get your free 30 days of the Manila Times Premium.
Our journey with the Filipino moves us to do more, giving hope to those in need. Rebuilding lives, inspiring sports heroes, and empowering a nation. PAGCOR, creating opportunities beyond gaming.